I used to believe my body was something I controlled. I never thought about it much. I walked, stood, reached, turned, without asking permission from my own muscles. That changed after the accident. Now, every movement feels like a question my body refuses to answer. I wake up early, before the sun, before Rowan. The house is quiet at that hour. Too quiet. I stare at the ceiling and wait for the familiar heaviness in my legs to remind me that this is real. It always does. When Rowan wakes up, he doesn't speak immediately. He looks at me first, like he's checking if I'm still here. "Morning," he says softly. "Morning," I reply. He helps me sit up. His hands are gentle, careful in a way that still hurts more than roughness would. I remember when his touch used to be careless, natural. Now it feels practiced. I don't thank him. I don't apologize either. We both pretend this is normal. The wheelchair waits beside the bed. I hate how patient it looks. I hate that it's always ready for me. Rowan locks the wheels before helping me into it. I look away while he does, staring at the wall like it might offer escape. I used to stand by the window every morning. Now I sit there. Same view. Different height. Different life. Rowan makes breakfast while I watch from the corner of the kitchen. He places things closer now. Cups. Plates. Even small objects I used to reach without thinking. He never mentions it. That silence feels heavier than words. "Is this okay?" he asks, pointing to the chair placement. "It's fine," I say. Everything is always fine. He eats standing sometimes, like he's afraid to sit too long, afraid of wasting time. I notice things like that now. I notice everything. After breakfast, he helps me move to the living room. He adjusts the cushion behind my back, then steps away quickly, giving me space like I asked for it. I didn't. When he leaves for work, he kneels in front of me and looks into my eyes. "Call me if you need anything," he says. I nod. I always nod. After the door closes, the house feels larger. Louder in its quiet. I roll myself a little forward, then stop. My arms ache faster than they used to. I rest my hands in my lap and stare at them. This body feels unfamiliar. Like I borrowed it from someone else and forgot to return it. And somewhere deep inside, a thought keeps growing quietly. How long before Rowan realizes he deserves a life that doesn't revolve around my limitations? The afternoons are the hardest. Time moves differently when you depend on it to pass. I watch sunlight crawl across the floor like it's in no hurry to leave me alone. I try to read, but the words slip away. I try to keep my hands busy, but they shake with frustration more than effort. When Rowan comes home, I hear his footsteps before the door opens. I always straighten my posture, like he's a guest in his own house now. "How was your day?" I ask. "Fine," he says. He always says fine. He takes off his jacket and hangs it carefully. Everything he does is careful now. He asks before moving anything. He asks before touching me. I want to scream at him sometimes and tell him to stop asking. To just be normal. But I don't say it. He cooks dinner. I help by telling him where the salt is, even though we both know he doesn't need help. It's the only way I can feel useful. We eat quietly. Not an uncomfortable silence. Just empty. After dinner, he washes the dishes while I sit nearby. I watch water run over his hands and think about all the things those hands do for me now. Lift. Push. Adjust. Support. He never looks tired. That scares me more than anger would. That night, he helps me get ready for bed. I insist on doing as much as I can myself. It takes longer. He waits without checking his phone, without sighing. When he finally helps me onto the bed, I turn my face away. "I don't want you to see me like this," I whisper. He pauses. "Like what?" "Like someone who needs help to exist." He doesn't answer right away. Then he says, "You're still you." I almost laugh. Not because it's funny. Because it's painful. When the lights go off, I lie awake while he sleeps beside me. His breathing is steady. Mine is not. I think about the life he could have had. The woman who could walk beside him instead of sitting behind him. The future that now looks smaller, narrower. I press my lips together to stop the tears. Crying feels selfish somehow. In the dark, I make a quiet decision. One I don't say out loud. If loving him means letting him go one day, I need to be ready for that. That thought scares me more than anything else. The next morning, I try to do something small on my own. Rowan is in the shower. I reach for the mug on the counter without calling him. My fingers miss it the first time. The second time, it tips and spills water across the surface. The sound is louder than it should be. Rowan appears instantly, hair still wet. I heard. I've got it, I say quickly. He freezes. For a second, I think he might argue. Instead, he steps back. He watches me struggle to wipe the counter, my arm shaking. It takes me 3 times longer than it should. When I'm done, my hand hurts. My chest hurts more. Rowan doesn't say anything. He just hands me a towel quietly. That silence feels like respect, but also like distance. Later that day, I push myself harder than usual. I move from room to room, adjusting, reaching, failing, trying again. By evening, my body feels heavy, uncooperative. Rowan notices. He always does. You don't have to prove anything, he says softly. I'm not, I lie. But I am. I'm trying to prove I'm still worth staying for. That night, I dream of walking. Not running. Not dancing. Just walking beside Rowan on a quiet street. Our hands swing naturally between us. I don't think about steps. I don't think about balance. When I wake up, the loss hits me all over again. Rowan is already awake, sitting on the edge of the bed, rubbing his eyes. He notices my face immediately. Bad dream, he asks. I nod. He reaches for my hand. I let him this time. I was walking, I say. In my dream. He squeezes my hand gently. That sounds nice. I want him to say something hopeful. Something unrealistic. Something comforting. He doesn't. And somehow, that honesty hurts less. As he helps me into the wheelchair, I feel a sudden wave of anger. Not at him. At myself. At this body. At the future I didn't choose. I don't want to be the reason your life feels smaller, I say suddenly. Rowan stops. Slowly, he kneels in front of me. My life isn't smaller, he says. It's different. I look away. Different feels like a softer word for loss. But later, when he makes tea exactly how I like it and places it within reach without asking, I wonder if maybe different doesn't always mean worse. A few days later, Rowan comes home earlier than usual. I can tell something is different the moment he walks in. His shoulders are tense, his steps slower. Everything okay? I ask. He nods. Yeah, just tired. I know that tone. It's the same one I use when I don't want to explain myself. That evening, while he's in the kitchen, his phone buzzes on the table beside me. I don't mean to look. I really don't. But the name flashes on the screen. A clinic. A physical therapy center. My chest tightens. When he comes back, I ask carefully, what was that call about? He hesitates. Just for a second. Nothing important. That word hurts more than I expect. Later, I overhear him on the balcony, his voice low. Yes. I understand, but she doesn't know yet. I grip the arms of my chair, my mind racing. I already know what this is about. Hope. The kind of hope that hurts if you hold it too tightly. When he comes back inside, I don't mention it. I don't want hope slipped into my life quietly like this. I've learned what happens when it leaves. That night, I can't sleep. I keep thinking about the word yet. About what he's planning without telling me. My thoughts turn dark, heavy. Maybe he's preparing for a future without me. Maybe he's making plans so he won't feel guilty when he finally leaves. In the morning, I finally say it. You don't have to stay because you feel responsible. I tell him while he ties his shoes. He looks up sharply. What? I can manage, I continue, even though my voice shakes. You deserve a full life. One that doesn't revolve around helping me move from room to room. The room feels very quiet after that. Rowan stands up slowly. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't rush. I stay because I choose to, he says. Not because I'm trapped. I want to believe him. I really do. But belief feels risky now. As he leaves for work, he pauses at the door. Please don't decide my life for me, he adds gently. When the door closes, I stare at the empty space he left behind. For the first time, I realize my fear isn't just about losing him. It's about learning how to live if he never leaves. Afternoons have started to feel different. Rowan comes home quietly, without the rush of old days. He waits at the doorway while I adjust myself in the wheelchair. I can feel his eyes on me, not with pity, but with that careful attention that makes me ache all over. I used to hate needing him. I used to think independence defined me. Now, I hate that I can't stop feeling guilty for needing him. He doesn't ask for thanks. He doesn't ask for reassurance. He just moves around the apartment in silence, making the place ours again, slowly, in tiny gestures. He sets the plate just within reach. He pours the tea slowly, making sure the cup doesn't slip. The smallest things feel monumental. Sometimes, I catch him watching me while I pretend to read. His expression is calm, almost neutral, but I know better. I know the weight he carries, weight I can't lift, no matter how strong I try to be. I close my eyes and whisper silently, I'm sorry, though I don't know if it's for my body, my limitations, or the way I've made his life smaller. That evening, I roll myself to the living room, hoping to feel something like normal. Rowan follows me quietly, carrying the blanket I like over my lap. I don't ask. I don't think. I just let him do it. Do you want me to read to you tonight? He asks. His voice is soft, careful. I nod. I want to refuse, to push away, but I can't. I need it too much. He picks up a book, reading slowly, deliberately. The words float across the room like a gentle tide. I close my eyes and let them wash over me, listening to the cadence of his voice. I realize that this quiet attention is love in its purest form. Not dramatic, not loud, not explosive. Just patience, presence, and care. For the first time in weeks, I feel a little weight lift off my chest. The body hasn't changed. The limitations remain. But maybe, just maybe, the space between Rowan and me doesn't have to feel so wide. I glance at him. He looks back, and for a moment, the silence between us isn't empty. It's ours. Days pass, and small moments begin to matter more than big ones. Rowan doesn't say much, but I notice the little things. The way he smooths the blanket on my lap, the careful way he adjusts the chair so I can reach the window, the soft, I'll be right here when I hesitate. I used to think love was about words. Now I know it's about presence. And Rowan has presence in a way no one else ever had. Still, I wrestle with myself. I wonder if I'm holding him back. If my body, my limitations, have stolen his chance at freedom, at life without this constant weight. But then he smiles softly when I laugh at something silly on TV, and I remember, he chose this. Every day. Quietly. Without complaint. And maybe that choice is love itself. One evening, I ask him something I've been afraid to. Do you ever regret it? He stops chopping vegetables in the kitchen and looks at me, his expression calm. Regret what? This. Us. This life we're living. He sighs gently. I chose this life, Alara. I don't see it as a burden. I see it as ours. His words feel heavy with truth. I want to believe them. I want to feel the relief they promise. But years of independence and self-reliance have made me hesitant to lean fully on anyone. Later, when he helps me into bed, he doesn't rush. He doesn't speak unnecessarily. He simply adjusts the pillows and holds my hand while I settle. That hand feels like more than support. It feels like the only thing anchoring me to hope. And for the first time, I realize that hope isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It arrives in the quiet patience of someone who refuses to give up on you, even when life has changed everything. Weeks go by, and I notice subtle changes in myself. I push a little further in the wheelchair. I try to feed myself without him. I attempt to stand, holding onto the bars, even if only for a few seconds. Every tiny success feels monumental. Rowan notices, but he doesn't overreact. He doesn't cheer. He just watches with that quiet calm, letting me stumble, letting me fight with my body, letting me claim fragments of my independence again. Sometimes, I catch him looking at me and wonder if he sees the same despair I feel. Or maybe he only sees what I've forgotten to see in myself, that I'm still me. Whole, complicated, imperfect, but still alive. One evening, after dinner, I roll to the window and stare out at the street below. Rowan sits beside me silently, hands resting on his knees. I've been thinking, I say quietly, about everything I can't do anymore. He doesn't interrupt. He just listens. And I feel like I'm stealing your life, I continue. Like maybe you'd be happier without me needing so much. Rowan turns slightly, placing his hand over mine. Elara, you're not stealing anything. I'm choosing to be here. Not because you need me, but because I want to. Life didn't stop when your body changed. It changed, yes, but it's still ours. His words sink into me slowly, like sunlight warming cold skin. I realize that my fear, my guilt, my constant worry about being a burden, they aren't facts. They're shadows in my mind. And with Rowan beside me, I don't have to face them alone. A month later, our days begin to find a rhythm. Rowan wakes before me, as always, but now I try to meet him halfway. I reach for small tasks, pouring my own water, brushing my hair, moving the blanket over my lap. Each time he notices, he doesn't step in unless I need him. It's strange, this balance. I feel capable again, even if only in fragments. Rowan's patience and quiet love give me space to try, and I realize that love isn't about doing everything for someone. It's about letting them live alongside you, even when life is heavier than it should be. That evening, we sit together by the window. The sky is a muted orange, the day fading softly. I glance at Rowan. His eyes are tired but calm. He doesn't need to speak. I already feel what he's thinking. Acceptance, dedication, and love that isn't loud or flashy. I reach for his hand. This time, I don't pull away. It's warm, steady, real. And for the first time, I let myself believe that our life, though changed, is still full of moments worth holding on to. I whisper softly, almost to myself, maybe I can be enough. He smiles gently, squeezing my hand, and I know he thinks the same. We're enough for each other, even in silence, even in struggle, even here. The next morning, I wake earlier than usual, before the sun has even started stretching across the sky. The house is quiet, except for the faint hum of the heater and the soft ticking of the clock. I sit in my wheelchair by the window, hands resting in my lap, staring at the empty street below. Rowan is still asleep. I know this because I can hear the slow rise and fall of his breathing, the familiar rhythm that once felt ordinary but now feels like a lifeline. I breathe in slowly, trying to steady the flutter of anxiety that always greets the first moments of a new day. My legs don't move as they once did. My arms ache from yesterday's attempt to do something simple on my own, and yet, I feel a spark of quiet pride. Rowan will wake soon and begin his morning routine, carefully moving around the kitchen to make coffee, preparing things just within my reach, adjusting the chair if I've shifted too far forward. I watch him sometimes, in these small, still hours, noticing the patience in his movements, the subtle care that never demands recognition. And in these moments, I allow myself to feel hope. Hope that this life, though different, can still hold beauty. I remember the fear that gripped me after the accident, the fear that my limitations would push him away, that I would become a burden he could no longer bear. But now, watching him move quietly, respecting my pace, his presence reminds me that love doesn't demand perfection. It asks only for patience and understanding. And Rowan has both in abundance. I lift my hand slowly, just to feel the stretch in my fingers, to feel that small sense of capability, and whisper to the empty room, I can do this, even if it's slowly. By midday, Rowan returns from work, carrying the groceries and a quiet smile. The way he moves through the house no longer feels like routine. It feels deliberate, mindful, filled with intention. He helps me navigate to the kitchen, positioning the wheelchair so I can reach the counter without strain. Every motion he makes, every glance he casts my way, is full of unspoken understanding, the kind of understanding that only grows through shared struggle. I help where I can, placing the vegetables, washing the few items that are light enough, stirring the ingredients slowly, and though it takes more time than it once would have, I feel a sense of agency returning to me. Rowan doesn't rush me, doesn't offer corrections unless necessary. He simply stands beside me, a quiet anchor, reminding me that my presence is enough. We finish preparing the meal in near silence, punctuated only by the occasional clink of dishes or the soft murmur of conversation about trivial things, news we saw, a funny memory, a neighbor's dog barking. Sitting together at the table, I feel a warmth that has little to do with the food. It's in the shared rhythm of our actions, in the gentle glances, in the mutual acknowledgement that, even when life has changed, we remain connected. Later, when the plates are cleared and I roll back to the living room, Rowan sits nearby, reading quietly while I rest. I watch him, noticing the subtle shift of his shoulders, the relaxed way he lets me lead small movements. I realize that love, patience, and trust are not measured in grand gestures, but in these tiny, everyday acts of care. And for the first time in months, I feel truly seen, not for what I've lost, but for who I am. Evenings have taken on a new rhythm. Rowan helps me settle by the window, the fading light spilling across the room. I can feel the warmth on my arms and hands, and for a moment, it feels like the world outside is softer than it is. We sit together, quiet, letting the silence stretch without discomfort. I watch him out of the corner of my eye, the slight tilt of his head, the way he shifts his weight on the chair, the subtle care in everything he does. I realize that his love doesn't shout, it whispers through actions in small, intentional details that might go unnoticed by anyone else. Tonight, I decide to speak. Do you ever wish things were easier? I ask softly. He looks at me without hesitation. Every day, he admits. But easier doesn't mean better. And I don't think I could love better than I do right now, even if it were easier. His words sink deep. I imagine life without him, with someone else, someone who wouldn't need to move slowly, who wouldn't have to adjust to a changed body, who wouldn't witness every fragile moment of struggle. And the thought terrifies me. Rowan chose to stay, to love me through all of it, and I feel the weight of gratitude pressing into my chest, heavy but comforting. I take his hand, this time without hesitation. He squeezes gently. It's steady, grounding, and in that moment, I let myself feel that our life, though altered, limited, and slower than we imagined, is still worth living. Still worth fighting for. Still ours. Later that night, after the lights are dimmed and the world outside grows quiet, I lie in bed with Rowan beside me. My body aches from the day, the wheelchair, the small efforts I've made to reclaim independence. But my heart feels lighter, as if it's stretched to hold something I had almost forgotten, hope. We talk in whispers about trivial things at first, work, a memory from a long-ago trip, a book one of us wants to read. Slowly, the conversation drifts to deeper things, fears, regrets, small frustrations that have been tucked away. I listen, and for the first time in months, I speak without restraint, without guilt, without fear of judgment. Rowan listens, as he always does, with quiet patience and unwavering presence. He doesn't fix me. He doesn't try to make me better. He simply exists beside me, steady as the floor beneath the bed. And in that simple existence, I feel a sense of peace that had eluded me since the accident. I realize that our love isn't defined by what I can do or cannot do, by the challenges we face, or by the limitations of my body. It is defined by our willingness to stay, to hold space for each other, to witness without judgment. I close my eyes, Rowan's hand still in mine, and for the first time, I feel whole again. Not the same as before, but enough. Enough to breathe, enough to love, enough to hope. And maybe that is what matters most. The following week, I decide to try something I haven't in months. I ask Rowan to help me into the shower chair, but this time I want to do as much as I can myself. My arms shake, my legs resist, and I stumble more than once, but he doesn't rush to correct me. Instead, he stands close, his presence steady, his hand hovering just in case. Every failure feels like a reminder of what I lost, yet every small success is like a tiny victory I didn't know I could still achieve. Afterward, wrapped in a towel, I catch my reflection in the mirror. My body is not what it used to be, but the eyes looking back are strong. Fear and doubt still linger, but so does a growing sense of resilience. Rowan's voice comes from behind me, quiet, gentle. You're stronger than you realize. I turn to him, and in that moment, I realize he's not just observing my struggles, he's believing in me, even when I struggle to believe in myself. We sit together later in the living room, the faint hum of the evening around us. I rest my head on his shoulder. We don't need to talk. The quiet speaks volumes, a shared understanding that even in this altered life, we are partners, allies, and companions. And for the first time in months, I feel like I belong in my own life again. That night, before sleep, I lie quietly, listening to Rowan's steady breathing beside me. I think about all the ways life has changed since the accident, how simple tasks became monumental, how small gestures became profound, and how love itself has transformed into something quieter, deeper, more enduring. I recall the moments of frustration, the tears, the sleepless nights, the guilt I carried for feeling like a burden. But I also remember his patience, his silent support, the way he adjusts, accommodates, and loves without asking for recognition. And I understand now, love isn't measured by what you can do for someone. It's measured by the willingness to remain, to care, to witness without judgment. I take his hand in mine, feeling its warmth, its steadiness. Thank you, I whisper, though I don't need to explain why. He squeezes gently, as if to say he understands without words. In the dark, I realize something I hadn't allowed myself to believe in months. Even with this body, even with limitations I didn't choose, even with the fear of being a burden, I am loved. Fully, quietly, unconditionally. And that is enough. I close my eyes and breathe in the stillness, Rowan's hand holding mine, and for the first time in a long time, I feel safe, whole, and unafraid of tomorrow. The next morning, sunlight slips through the blinds, painting soft stripes across the floor. I sit by the window, sipping tea, feeling the warmth seep into my hands. Rowan enters quietly, carrying a stack of papers, therapy exercises, schedules, little plans for progress he's been keeping to himself. He sets them beside me without a word, then helps me adjust in the wheelchair so I can reach them easily. I glance at him, really look, and I notice the small lines around his eyes that weren't there before. They tell me about nights spent worrying, days spent silently carrying both our burdens. I realize he hasn't just been helping me physically. He's been carrying hope, patience, and love. And somehow, without me fully realizing it, that love has begun to change me from the inside. I pick up one of the sheets and trace the exercises with my fingers. Small movements, small goals, tiny victories. I feel a thrill I haven't felt in months, the possibility that I might reclaim some of what I lost, that life might stretch a little wider than it seemed. Rowan watches me, hands folded, waiting. Not for me to succeed perfectly, but to try. And I try with every ounce of energy I can summon, because I know he believes in me. We spend the morning quietly, working through exercises, laughing softly at small stumbles, celebrating tiny accomplishments. I feel a rhythm returning to our days, a balance between dependence and independence, struggle and support. For the first time in months, I feel alive in a way that doesn't come with guilt, shame, or fear. I feel capable. I feel loved. I feel hopeful. That evening, Rowan helps me back into bed, adjusting the pillows behind me with care. I look at him and realize that my gratitude can't be summed up in words. I reach for his hand, holding it tightly. "I don't know what I'd do without you," I whisper. "You don't have to," he replies, voice steady. "I'm here because I choose to be. Not because you need me, but because I want to." His words sink deep into me. I feel the tension I've carried for months, the fear of being a burden, the guilt for my limitations, start to ease. It's not gone, but it's lighter, more manageable. And I understand now that love doesn't demand perfection, just presence. I close my eyes, leaning against him, listening to the quiet rhythm of his breathing. For the first time in months, I feel a sense of peace that isn't fleeting. Life has changed, yes, but it hasn't ended. We've adapted. We've found new ways to care, to connect, to love. As I drift towards sleep, I whisper softly, almost to myself, "I am enough." And in the warmth of Rowan's hand, I believe it. Wholeheartedly. Fully. Not in spite of my body, but with it, and because of the love that surrounds me. For the first time in a long while, I know we'll be okay. Weeks turn into months, and life settles into a rhythm that feels surprisingly gentle. I've learned to move with my body, not against it. Rowan has learned to move with me, without rushing, without pity. We sit together in the mornings, watch the sunlight spill across the floor, and I notice small things I never did before, the way his hair catches the light, the quiet way he folds his hands, the subtle smile he gives when I manage a small task alone. I realize that love is not about grand gestures or dramatic confessions. It's in the patience, the presence, the unspoken trust that we'll both be here tomorrow together. Rowan has not only stayed, he has allowed me to see my own worth again. And in that, I find strength I didn't know I had. One afternoon, while Rowan is adjusting my cushion, I look at him and say, "Thank you for staying." He looks at me, eyes soft. "I didn't stay out of obligation. I stayed because you're my life, Alara. And this is our life." I smile faintly, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. Not tears of sorrow, but of recognition. Recognition of love, resilience, and acceptance. The body may have changed, the limitations remain, but what we've built together, is unbreakable. That night, before sleep, I lie in bed and watch Rowan move around the room, straightening the blanket, adjusting the light, always careful, always present. I feel his hand brush against mine, and I don't pull away. "I used to think life would end when my body changed," I whisper. "Life didn't end," he says softly. "It just changed. And we'll live it, every way we can, together." For the first time, I understand that together doesn't mean perfect or easy or painless. It means commitment, patience, love that endures beyond frustration, beyond fear, beyond what we thought we were capable of. I close my eyes and breathe in the stillness of the night, the warmth of Rowan's hand, the quiet certainty that no matter how different life has become, we've found a way to be whole. And in that silence, I finally feel free. Free from guilt, free from fear, free from the weight of what I cannot do. Because I am enough. Because we are enough. Because love, quiet and steady, has rewritten the story of our lives.